Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reflections with Baba Yusuf. I am Mallam Baba Yusuf. Today, I will reflect on the ongoing political permutations and combinations in the United States of America build up to the 2024 presidential elections and the potential outcomes. In less than 1 month, Americans will vote in the 2024 presidential elections. And as we count down to the elections, the United States is undergoing a phase of political metamorphosis with both Republican and Democratic political parties undergoing sublime ideological restructuring, which will ultimately impact the mid to long term political outlook of the country. President Biden stepping aside from contesting and nominating Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic Party's nominee was a deft move. The best move for the Democratic Party to stand a chance to put up a good fight against former President Trump. The move has caused major political upset in the political history of the United States, especially when it only happened after the Republican presidential candidate, former President Donald Trump, had already crafted his strategy and picked Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential candidate. Mr. Trump and his supporters in the Republican Party were already having a field day due to galloping polls that were in his favor. No thanks to President Biden's gaffes, slips, and mental breakdowns, which culminated in the debate that he had with candidate Trump about 3 months ago in Atlanta, Georgia, where a clearly incoherent candidate Biden failed to impress even his most devoted supporters within and outside the United States. Of course, President Biden didn't go down without landing a sucker punch on Donald Trump with the nomination of Vice President Kamala Harris, because Donald Trump's political calculus was based on President Biden running, and candidate Trump crafted his strategy, including the choice of his VP candidate, his punchlines and communication strategy, including advertisement, based on that seemingly settled reality. Vice President Kamala Harris's emergence as Democratic Party's presidential candidate and the huge acceptance and the wow effect it is having on the Democrats and even Republicans who are taken aback by the development has already set candidate Kamala on a good campaign start and building critical momentum with high potential for becoming the first female president of the United States of America. Furthermore, the nomination of Kamala Harris sent Donald Trump's camp into a frenzy, with Donald Trump escalating his verbal abuses and attacks, speaking outright lies, misinformation, and disinformation, and throwing tantrums, which, in my view, will only really not help his campaign. In my opinion, for Mr. Trump to make tangible progress in his campaign, he should focus on the issues. Indeed, nobody could wish away the importance and influence of Trump's MAGA, Make America Great Again movement in the current American politics. Former President Trump has become a phenomenon, whether good or bad, and cannot be ignored or waved away. But his behaviors are eroding his opportunities in a way. Therefore, I think candidate Trump and his campaign team need to focus on the issues, especially as the campaign becomes hotter, with debates coming up and then, counting down to the election day. Candidate Trump needs to focus on the homeland security and foreign policies missteps of President Biden, which Kamala Harris is actually part of. About 240 million Americans are eligible to vote in this year's election. But the key point to note is that it is a smaller number or smaller fraction, if you like, of the 240 million voters who are in the swing or battleground states that will most likely determine who wins the elections between Democrat Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump. Major policy issues, including foreign policy, the economy, healthcare, abortion, immigration, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and the war between Israel and Hamas will be key determinants for electorates. So the pitches of the candidates and in the 7 battleground states, and those are Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Georgia, are critical success factors to sway undecided voters and even in some cases sway hitherto traditional Republicans or Democrats to swing their votes in the upcoming elections. That is not minimizing the importance of the political dynamism across the states of the United States of America. Focusing on facts and figures and not fiction and linking them to Kamala Harris as part of Biden's administration will help Donald Trump's campaign and not the verbose onslaughts on what I call micro or non issues, sentimentalities, or personalization of issues. For Kamala Harris, the momentum is good, the acceptance is growing, but she should not take the initial momentum for granted. And our campaign should not for a moment be complacent, but brace for one of the most toxic and tough campaigns and elections, even tougher than that of Biden versus Trump. The days ahead will be crucial. The messaging should be based on substance, character, and values. Moving forward, much as Kamala is part of Biden's administration, she should demonstrate independence of opinion without disparaging Biden's administration, which she is part of. She should show that she can creatively and strategically have a better value proposition to America and the allies of America. Better than what President Biden offered and what he's currently doing. I don't know how she's going to do that. For example, with regards to the Israeli-Palestinian war in Gaza and other geopolitics. Nonetheless, I do not expect much of ideological changes in Kamala's strategic and policy messaging. Essentially, the win will not come to Vice President Harris on a platter because former President Trump is tough, popular, and relentless with very high electoral value based on his support base that believes that the establishment is against him and therefore they see him as a victim and as their MAGA hero. That is a powerful combination in favor of Trump. Being practical and pragmatic on the issues that concerns Americans will also be key. The days ahead will be very interesting as the keen contest unravels. Americans and the world in general will be watching out for the ultimate outcome of the elections. This is especially true with the fear-mongering and gaslighting by candidate Donald Trump, stating that should he not win, there could be crisis. He is already reeling out the same election malpractice narrative from the 2020 elections. Conservative Republicans like Representative Liz Cheney, who openly stated that she would vote for candidate Harris, are very important to Kamala's campaign and speaks volume of the momentum of her campaign. So definitely there will be protest votes from the camp of the Republicans. However, much as this protest will add value to the optics and campaign of Kamala Harris, those votes will not tip the scale, in my opinion. Albeit the votes will go a long way to muster more support for Kamala, and therefore they may have what I call secondary impact. In my view, immigration, abortion rights, gun violence, rising racism and race-related violence, hate speeches promoted directly by Donald Trump and surreptitiously by Biden, for example, in his support of the onslaught on Palestinians on the ongoing war in Gaza, could be some of the issues or should be some of the issues that the candidates will be addressing. In all this, I land with this rhetorical question. What is the need for America and the developing world? I mean, the elections that are going to take place in America. And in my opinion, when it comes to Africa, I don't expect much from the outcomes of the US presidential elections. To be honest, whoever becomes the president of the United States of America, whether it is Vice President Kamala Harris or former President Donald Trump, the US agenda for Africa will pretty much remain the same. Nothing much of substance for us. The US and the Western powers will continue to feather their nests at the expense of Africa and Africans. Therefore, from the global geopolitical point of view, I do not expect significant positive change in the US foreign policy for Africa. Of course, it also speaks volume with regard to the fact that Africa is on its own. Therefore, leaders of African countries need to do the needful to get out of political and socio-economic doldrums. That being said, when the dynamics are escalated with global socio-economic impacts, for example, what is happening in Sudan, where the US and Russia are likely on thin hands, then African leaders should take note of the political dynamism of the emergence of the next president of the United States of America, so that African nations can individually and collectively strategize, plan, and position for better survival, growth, and sustainable development. Well, this is a conversation for another day. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and I look forward to the next episode coming up next Sunday. Until then, it's bye for now.